commentators, Peter Drury, said, you know, from nothing to everything, that sort of silence on the start and that explosion. And Susanna Francia, the veteran there, 34 years of age, come out of retirement just for this contest when Henley decided to put women's fours on. Riding with Grace Luzak, the American stroke of the Oxford Brookes Melbourne University crew, and the umpire having to warn them. That's a big steer, isn't it? Yeah,
it's a challenge for both these crews because neither of them know the course that well, so getting their steering right is going to be important.
So the Oxford Brookes crew here, Grace Luzak in the stroke seats behind Liddy Carnegie-Brown, the sixth woman from the British 8 that took Olympic silver. Then Kim Brennan, we've talked about already, and the Dutchman Vanke van Dorp in the Dutch 8 that finished 6th in the Olympic final. They were the slightly slower crew to the first mark on the course, the barrier, when they raced yesterday. And it does look as if they are maybe just 2 or 3 feet down at this early stage of the race.
Fantastic display of powerful, powerful women's rowing, isn't it? I mean, 2 falls with incredibly accomplished oarswomen in there, and it's, you know, going to be a challenge for them because they haven't been together as crews for that long, either of them. So, you know, there's a lot of pride at stake here as well. I mean, it's pretty, you know, neck for neck at the moment. Who can get the best rhythm, the best power? They look a little lower rating to me on this side. The closest to the camera of Susan Francia's crew, we can see them, I think, slightly more powerful, slightly longer. I'd say a little more fluid in Kim Brennan's crew, perhaps, but advantage, I think, with Susan Francia's crew at the moment.
Well, you've got 2 Yanks in the stern of that boat. I'm probably reasonably certain that Felice Muller must have done some rowing with Susanna Francia. I know they were in different Olympiads, but you know, the confidence that you have from that American squad. Kerry Simmons, of course, well, confidence sky high after winning a sweepboard event in the Rio Olympics, the women's 8. But there's Kim Brennan, formerly Kim Crow. She is calling in this sponsored boat, which have come together because Ernst & Young have provided scholarships for 8 women, and 4 of these women have come together for the Ernst & Young Scholarship Programme in this new event at Henley, the Women's Fours. And what an inspired decision it's been by Henley Regatta to put on this event, because it has provided such quality racing.
Well, it's a new event in the Olympics. It's a really exciting addition to the women's programme, and women, you know, all of the programmes across the world are excited about, you know, how can they get a good 4 out there. And all the rowers, a lot of those who are thinking of moving on after Rio are thinking, well, actually, I'd love to row, I'd love to race in the 4s. So there's huge interest around it. So to immediately have this also at Henley Regatta was fantastic.
So the blades of the crew from New York Athletic Club, distinctive colours of that very famous rowing club there on the Hudson River, and Felice Muller, the experienced, the 28-year-old, rode in the pair in Rio with Grace Luzak. Grace Luzak, of course, is stroking that boat to her right. So there's Grace Luzak.
There is nothing in it. Yeah. They are absolutely going toe-to-toe on this.
I mean, are we seeing the strength of American women's rowing here, really? We've got, you know, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 Americans in this event, which really is a credit to the American women's programme and Title IX and all that's done for American universities.
Absolutely, and I think, you know, what the American Women's 8 have done over the last decade or so to dominate in the way they have at every single race has been astounding. They've led the world. Everyone's wanted to know, what are they doing? How are they training? How are they rowing? How can they come out and be so dominant all the time? I mean, they're great ambassadors for the sport, and of course, you know, most of the rowers here have also gone on to do sort of other interesting things. So Kerry Simmons now been very much involved in junior varsity rowing and, you know, wanting to give back. She's been involved in coaching this year, looking at taking on some more coaching roles. So, you know, and the Ernst & Young crew, of course, you know, taking their skills they've learned from the world of sport and taking them into business. A fantastic opportunity. Ernst & Young have done lots of research to say that they found the women leaders have often had a fantastic crew team experience, and that's, you know, crossing the skills you get in sport, taking them into business. But at the moment, they're actually just slipping behind in the Ernst & Young crew, and the American crew from New York Athletic Club have got the lead. They've stolen a lead there, they've stolen a length out of somewhere. So the question is, how can they respond now in the Oxford Brookes and Melbourne crew? How well rehearsed are they? How many outings have they had together as a crew?
It's a big ask, isn't it? Because you're kind of in the Badlands in the middle of the course there. You know, you have too much noise going on. That's going to happen when you come to the enclosures. And You're just sitting there hoping that your rhythm is going to take you past the other crew, and that's what the crew from New York Athletic Club have done. Stroked very ably by Felice Müller, as we've been saying, and it's a question for these 4 women, Kath.
It is. Well, there's a lot of medals and there's a lot of experience in that crew, and how can they use that? How can they do that cohesively? How can they make sure that actually they put in some moves that are really efficient and synchronized? But they are making some moves. They look back in contact again. They are absolutely, if ever there were 8 fighters out there, then these are 8 girls who will not be doing anything other than pushing harder, looking for new ways, improving their technique, pushing it all the way. It's fantastic to see.
Felice Müller steering a beautiful stroke. I think she steered that Olympic pair, but the stroke woman of the New York Athletic Club crew on the left of your picture has gone straight down the booms the whole way after that little upset at the start, and that's a beautiful course.
Very good steering, and they are of course all from the US squad, so they've got that sort of sense they will have all trained together over recent years. That's probably helping them now. It's just helped them in the second half to maintain under pressure, under fatigue, a little more togetherness.
Yeah, and these 4 women are going to go back into the US camp, which is happening now. Tom Tahar has sort of given them his blessing to come over here, and they will try, some of them, to make the World Championship team happening in Sarasota, Bradenton in September this year. Livy Coffey in the bow seats. She is going to Cambridge University, but there's a burst you're pointing out there from the Ernst & Young crew. Yeah,
absolutely. They're going to attack back. They look like they've just got some overlap again now. They're in contact. So how can they use that? Can they create some extra momentum? It looks longer and stronger to me in the New York Athletic Club, but they're having a go back, and the question again is, what sort of winter's training have they all had in this event? Possibly not quite the winter's training they had the previous year.
Kimmy Crow's looking round. It's going to hurt though, isn't it? Grace Luzak is going head-to-head with her pairs partner in the Olympics, Felice Müller. In the opposite
coming
boat.
back on terms. They're coming back on terms. They're giving everything. Have they got enough to hang on in New York Athletic Club?
I think the race is done and dusted by now. It looks quite close and looks exciting, but there's just about 15 strokes left, maybe 10. And it's that rhythm in the middle of the course that's taken New York Athletic Club through to the finish, barring any last-second mishaps. New York Athletic Club come through to the finish line in this semi-final of the women's 4s, ahead of the Oxford Brookes and Melbourne Melbourne crew, effectively an Ernst & Young scholarship programme crew. Susanna Francia there in the 3 seat, the 34-year-old, done a fantastic job.
Attention! Go!
8 women lined up to actually lay it down the course in this fantastic new event for Henley Royal Regatta, and what a race we had right from the start.
Yeah, that was that steering upset that the New York Athletic Club had to cope with, and well, Felice Müller, she got a magic foot sorted, didn't she, halfway down the booms.
Not the first crew we've had struggle out from the island, and they quickly corrected and then were absolutely on a track almost. They stayed on track, they were very focused, they were really kind of in their own lane, if you like, just heading down, doing their thing. They weren't putting in huge pushes, they just powered stroke by stroke, as the Americans do. They have such confidence in their programme. Kerry Simmons was saying that, when they come to events, they don't race as much in the World Cups, but they just always know the way they've trained, they've just got to go and do their thing, and they absolutely trust in what they do with Tom Tahar.
Yes, and more American women from Vesper Boat Club and Princeton National Rowing Association will come down because they're racing the Dutch for the second semi-final. So who will New York Athletic Club race? We'll get to see that. There's Kimmy Crow, the Olympic single sculls champion. Question marks as to whether she'll retire.